Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Welcome back to Zenith Guides, and today we are looking at the upcoming tuning coming into this week. So we're going to kick things off with the DK. So Frost DK, Frost Strike damage reduced by 6%, Obliterate damage reduced by 6%, Ice Death damage reduced by 10%, and Glacial Advance reduced by 10%. Now, a lot of people have hated this because a few reasons. Now, before we get cracking on with the rest of the classes, I do want to make one disclaimer. At the moment, in heroic and normal dungeons, you can't really feel the potential of your class, right? Because everything dies so fast that unless you spam your buttons really fast, you can't really see what your max DPS is going to be. Even bosses die ridiculously fast, so you can't really see like a full rotation unless you're with people that are naked. So their class tuning at the moment kind of, in my opinion, is a little bit early to say. But specifically with Frost DK, people are saying that this is now going to bring Frost and Unholy more in like a level playing field. So, you know, let me know in the comment section what you take about these changes. So, Balanced Druid, Umbral Intensity increases the damage of Wrath by 20/40%, was 25 to 50. So that's like what? 5 and 10% nerf, and Starfire by 15 to 30 was 50%. Starfire damage is increased though by Star Surge damage, sorry, is increased by 12%, Starfall damage is increased by 20%, and Harmony of the Heavens increases the Eclipse power by 2% per proc, max 6% was 5%, so that's a nice little buff there. And obviously if it's now 2% proc, max 6%, and it was a 1% to 5, it means that it's going to need to proc less times, which is kind of nice, I guess. And Feral, Blood Talons and Lion Strength now increases the damage of a rampant ferocity. Doesn't tell you by how much, but I'm assuming it means that whatever these two abilities increase it by normally, it's just going to increase the same amount, right? Evoker, Devo has had damage increased by all spells by 6%, Firestorm by 20%, and Firestorm duration reduced by 2 seconds. Now, I would say Devastation's already in a pretty good spot, but them buffing it is insane. And then Flame Shaper, engulf damage is increased by 30%. I feel like at the moment what they're trying to do is they're trying to make the balance of all classes as close as possible, so it gives people the variation. So like, for example, if you play Evoker, you can use Flame Shaper. You don't feel like that one elite tree is useless to you. So I kind of get that vibe about what they're doing. Like the same with Hunter, right? Pack Hunter, Vicious Hunt damage is increased by 10% for both Beast Mastery, and for Survival it's actually reduced. So for Survival it's staying the same. And the development note, and I do agree with this whilst playing Survival Hunter, whilst Vicious Hunt's damage reaches a certain point, it can cause Kill Command to dominate the Survival's rotation. I cannot tell you how many times already I felt the fact that you just stood there and all you're doing is spamming Kill Command because it's just proccing one after the other after the other after the other, and maybe you don't have any bombs to use and it's just single target. So yeah, I kind of agree with that. Power of the Pact critical strike damage increased by 5% for Beast Mastery and 11% for Survival. Furious Assault damage bonus increased to 60% for Survival, and Call the Herd damage over time increased to 60% for Survival. Again, I feel like they're trying to kind of manipulate these elite skills so you're not feeling like you have to be forced into playing one. But I mean, let's wait and see. This is early days, so, and the raid hasn't even come out. Season 1's not even started, so until we start getting gear and we start getting tier sets, we're not really going to know. But yeah, there's something to look at. Mage Fire, Living Bomb damage is increased by 30%, Pyroblast damage is increased by 5%, Flame Strikes increased by 10%. I mean, Fire needed some love. Like, Fire was dog. They needed some love. So I'm quite pleased that they actually did give them some love. Frost, Frost Firebolt increased by 25% for fire. Again, that's nice. Sun Fury, Burden of Power can no longer be double dipped by spell queuing. Arcane Phoenix damage dealt reduced by 10% for Arcane, and Arcane Soul base duration reduced by 2 seconds. Ret Pally Mastery High Lord's Judgment reduced by 10%, for example, at level 80, 180. Mastery now grants 1.35%. Mastery was 1.5%. So they just basically made you get more mastery, basically, in a way. And all holy spell damage increased by 5%. Thanks for that, Blizzard. I mean, Ret was already in a good position. I don't feel like Ret was lackluster. Like, Ret was okay to play for the small duration, or majority of people that actually play Ret as a main. Disc Priest, Oracle, Discipline Priest, preventative measures now increase Powerball shield absorption by 40%, was 25, doesn't apply to PvP. Atonement healing increased by 100% outside of raids, was 70%. That's nice. I like the fact that they're trying to tune the Disc Priest different between raids and, like, I'm assuming this means like Mythic Plus, right? Because it doesn't apply to PvP, so they're assuming they're kind of tailoring it to the Mythic Plus. I like that. Fixed an issue where Atonement critical healing was not increased by the correct amount outside of raids. Shadow Ward Pain and Purge, the Wicked damage increased by 20%. And Shadow Void Weaver, Shadow Priest, Void Blast damage increased by 20%. Elemental Shaman. Now, Elemental Shaman right now is really OP. Like, I know we can't really see the entire class, but it does feel pretty good. So Elemental Mastery, Elemental Overload bonus on all elemental and physical damage increased by 35%. Nice. All damage reduced by 6%. I did see that come in, to be fair. Stormbringer Tempest now deals 65% of its damage of an enemy near to its primary target, was 50%, so they kind of increased your AoE potential. Tempest now deals reduced damage beyond 5 targets. I mean, that did have to be a thing. Tempest was the most OP spell in the entire game right now. Like, it was proccing for like 1.5, 1.6, maybe even 2 million in some cases. Like, it was a strong spell, so I could see that one coming. Enhancement, all damage reduced by 4%. Elemental Blast damage increased by 12%. Stormbringer Tempest, or the same Tempest thing. And Totemic Tremor damage increased by 10%, and Searing Volley damage increased by 80%. Now, I don't really think that this is going to change Totemic. Stormbringer is just the superior right now, but you never know. People may find a variant that may change this. And Destrolock, all abilities increased by 5%. Nice. And then we got a bunch of PvP changes. Now, I'm not too big on the PvP, so I'm going to leave them for you guys to look at if you want to. I personally don't really do much PvP, so I'm not going to be able to give much of a kind of look into it, but I would strongly recommend you go and see it. Now, the other thing that I did want to go over, and this applies to this reset going forward, is that Blizzard has announced that all early dungeon leavers will be penalized with a deserter debuff. Now, a deserter debuff typically lasts half an hour, and the reason why they're doing this is because there's been a lot of feedback. A lot of the first bosses drop the really OP trinkets. So there's been a lot of people leaving after the first boss is dead and the trinket doesn't drop. They leave, requeue, go again. So it's kind of nice, in my opinion, that they've done this, because it makes it so that if people do decide to leave, they're going to be screwed with a half an hour debuff, which, to be fair, I guess for some people, like, if you only need that trinket, the extra half an hour that you get that you can't queue means that you've got time to do something else. So I guess it's a nerf, but also not a nerf in a way. But yeah, this is what they're bringing out. So I do strongly recommend, if you are in a group, don't leave. Just complete the dungeon, or complete, you know, a couple of bosses, and then leave. You don't need to leave after the first boss. I mean, I've been in a dungeon on my warrior, and every single person left on the first boss, and then you end up staying there for like 10-15 minutes waiting for everybody else to join, especially if the queue bugs, which makes it even worse. So definitely don't leave. If you don't need to, don't leave. This is only heroic loot. It's not going to get you to rank 1. You know, you've got an entire other week to farm it. It's not the end of the world, so just don't do it. Anyways, that's it from me, guys. I hope you guys are enjoying the War Within as much as I am, and I look forward to seeing you all in the comment section and all over on the stream. See you later. Peace. Bye.